Hello friends, it's me, Rob, here once more. Got some coffee and I feel like chatting, so welcome to Coffee with Rob. A little hot. So, been kind of busy lately. Got another character witness or two out, which I was pretty happy with. With my character witnesses, I kind of intend them to show evolution of games and elements of game design and play, but it was nice to do the one talking about the differences between roles and that you fill a job in a group and roles in a character. That was nice. Got some exciting things. A new subscriber, but for some reason my count is still 99. So one more away from something very special, very cool. 100 subscribers will be very neat. So that was cool. I've been kind of having a love-hate relationship with several YouTube channels. Not so much that I generally hate them, it's just sometimes they diverge in areas that I kind of don't feel good about a couple of what they produce. And one that I've been watching lately has been called Taking 20. Some entertaining things. They really work on the top 10 list, things that get over so well on YouTube, and it's all talking about 5th edition D&D for the most part, which is something I've commented myself. It's you're reaching out the largest body of gamers, the people who are playing the biggest game. And that's cool. They've got well over 100,000 subscribers, and it's doing well for them. Going through a couple of them, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good article. And a couple of them, I just a little too much kind of myopia in a certain area, and not a lot of you're trying to make a splash and get people to watch you. But no, I don't do that. We just put out hopefully good content that hopefully you enjoy. Hopefully people catch on to and come to really associate with Omnisci and Lair of Omnisci. So got more things in the oven. Too many things. I really need somebody who does video and editing work. I'd be able to finally put out the kind of output I'd love to do. But as long as it's just me, we'll make do as we go. Well, my new backdrop for a new series that I will be doing, which should be fun, about world, universe, and game creation. Just needed the right backdrop for it, and got a good one, so yay. So the biggest thing about this Coffee with Rob is a video response to a video I saw from another channel that I've subscribed to, a content creator named Ron Frazier. Nice guy. I'll try to put a link to his video in the description here. But basically he had a nice introductory video talking about where he came in role-playing. How his journey started. And I think it's really nice to know things like that about the people that you see. Find out how they got where they are. If you respect them and you're curious what drove a perspective a certain way, or what experiences you might have in common that might help you come to grips with something in your hobby or your viewing, that could be kind of useful. So, and his experiences were so far different from my experiences that I kind of wanted to do a video response. So I'm going to do it here. This video response, he talked about where gaming first found him. And with me, I was born in a very small town in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And if you have all these stereotypes running through your head with about Yoopers and and oh yeah, all 35 people in the town, and we had to shovel through 12 feet of snow in July. No, it wasn't that bad, but it was small, didn't have a lot of people around growing up, and I first basically came into fantasy when I stumbled on my mom reading J.R. Tolkien. and I asked her to read me some because we had done all the usual stuff, Dr. Seuss, and I loved Sesame Street and Electric Company and stuff like that. But she started reading that, and it was a completely different world. I was 3.5 to 4 at the time. And she read a lot to me, and then I started reading for myself. First out loud to her, and then on my own. And that basically sprang a lifetime love of reading, especially fantasy. That work is extremely important to me. We actually started in I believe it was the Fellowship of the Ring, eventually came back to the Hobbit, and yeah, the movies were that much more impactful because the books meant so much to me, and the movies were excellent too. So, but yeah, I started loving fantasy, and then out of the blue, my aunt and uncle got my parents for, I believe it was their anniversary, the box set for Dungeons and Dragons. I believe it was the Moldvay Basic set, from what my scattered recollections and the art that I saw. And that was something that they had absolutely no interest in. My father was not blessed with great imagination. He was a high school jock who went and got a job in a factory to support his family because that's what you do. And he's watched sports on TV and that was his thing. Loved John Wayne and MASH and stuff like that, and wanted me to watch it all with him. And as a kid who was about as unlike his father as possible at those days, that was a bit of a wrestle. My mom, outside of her love of fantasy literature, wasn't the most imaginative person either, but a good person who liked a lot of different things. And she worked very hard to make sure that I, was ready for schooling and stuff. We were going over geography and things before I was in kindergarten. When it came to kindergarten, I was bored because I knew everything already. I was very well prepared. So when they got Dungeons and Dragons, I was about 8 when they got the Dungeons and Dragons box set. And it sat on their shelf. They didn't need it. They didn't want it. They didn't know what to make of it. But for a curious 8-year-old with a love of fantasy, I somehow got a hold of the book. And the Satanic Panic stuff didn't really hit way back then. That would have been about, I'm going to date myself, but around 82, 83. Up in the Upper Peninsula, that didn't really resonate very much. It wasn't until high school where we started really hearing about, Satan is ready to get you from all things from Metallica to Dungeons and Dragons. And so it didn't have the stigma at the time, so I was reading it, but I was 8. A lot of the things about it, especially its heavy reliance on abbreviations, kind of threw me conceptually. I didn't get a lot, but I loved reading it because it was so different. I must have read the sample adventure description 100 times. I loved reading the descriptions of the monsters, what they were, what their ecology. It was very brief, but it was a completely different world. And of course, at 8, my brother was 5. My parents weren't interested in anything like that. The dice were cool, but I don't even know, they might have gotten lost at some point. Needless to say, that didn't survive. It either didn't survive moves or it fell apart. I don't remember. But at some point, it was not there anymore. We did a couple of moves, and that might have spelled the end of that. My next experience with it was in early high school. I had a friend who in 9th grade went to a seminary, and there he met some people who were really into role-playing. And he met his best friend there who was really, really into role-playing. So he brought that back. We were both kind of outcast kids. Didn't really get in with the main bunch except for in things where we were, we were kind of, pigeonholed outside of the cool kids, which was fine with us. In that town, it was really, I didn't really enjoyed most of my classmates anyhow. I had a small circle of friends, but that was about it. And he brought back role-playing games and talking about them and his love for them. When I saw him on, Christmas break, for instance, we talked a bit. And he brought back, he was talking about games like Top Secret that he played, but especially Dungeons and Dragons. To the point where I asked for the Dungeons and Dragons game for, I believe it was Christmas. Maybe it was my birthday. I don't remember. But anyhow, so I got the red box basic Dungeons and Dragons set. This would have been the Frank Menser basic of BECME. And now I was more than smart enough to appreciate everything that went into it and fully understand it. I've been playing video role-playing games on the Nintendo Entertainment System, and I've been well-versed in video games. And reading this was just, all of a sudden, it's like playing video games was playing somebody else's very limited story, and now I can do what I want. The downside was I didn't have anybody to play with. So while I got some graph paper and I made dungeons and crafted things, and when my friend went back to school, I had nobody to do any of this stuff with. So I made about 15 dungeons and populated them and everything. And I really only understood Dungeons and Dragons in its most basic aspect. You create heroes, they go into the dungeon, beat the dungeon, come out with experience and treasure. None of the narrative stuff that eventually defines my style. So, tried to bring my brothers into it. My brother and then my stepbrother eventually. And that didn't go very well. My brother is not blessed with a great deal of imagination either. He's much more like my father, except doesn't have it's a little bit more feckless than my father was. And my stepbrother, again, he humored me. I think he kind of looked up to me a bit, but he didn't have a passion or a love for it either. So we'd play occasionally just for something to do that wasn't board games or running around in the fields. And when my friend came back over the summer vacation, I had already committed to go to the seminary that he had gone off to. And we spent an entire summer. We recreated the Top Secret game from his memory. It wasn't very good looking back on it now, but unfortunately my father threw all of that stuff away, or the foster kids that he eventually took in, because empty nesting and everything. They might have destroyed it. I really couldn't tell. All I did was recovered my my original set of dice. That didn't get thrown out, but most of the other stuff was gone. So I don't have the earliest stuff that I ever came up with in my role-playing career, unfortunately, for all of the records and everything that I have now. So, then I went to the seminary, and I dove into the role-playing world. I quickly met people because they knew that I had role-playing game stuff, and they had played before as well. I also met all of my friends' friends who were into the hobby. So it was a great inroads for making friends and building those kind of relationships. I mean, to this day, my best friend I met in that year. Hello, Magic. My cat, the gamer cat, Magic, everybody. Say hi, Magic. Hi. Yes. All right. That's as much nonsense as she'll put up with. So that was a great time because at the seminary, I got middling grades without trying. I focused all of my effort on my games at that point, which wasn't healthy, looking back on it. And I was actually kicked out of school when it was discovered that I played Dungeons and Dragons and other role-playing games. The others kept it a lot more hidden. I told the wrong person that I was into these games, and I thought it was a confidential discussion, and through other assorted things, yeah, I was asked not to come back, which was, it hurt quite a bit, because I did grow to really, I loved the place in its own way. I had some more life lessons to learn. And but I told an epic campaign through BECME. I did basic, then got the expert set, Eventually, I think we worked our way up into the companion rules. Yeah, because characters were over 10th level. And I built a narrative story that wasn't anymore just about going into this dungeon and finding this treasure. It was an entire story told over the world of Mystara, the basic world in Beckme. And I ended up with about 9 or 10 people who came through that game. Not all of them stayed. Some of them only played a session or two. We had to kick one person out because they got really obsessed with the game to the point where he was failing out, and it was unfortunate. He was a nice guy, but we ended up kicking him out because it just wasn't healthy. And, you know, like I said, my best friend played in that game. We had a lot of really good stories that we told out of there. I also did some things that, you know, weren't... I learned a lot of things, both what to do and what not to do. I had this overriding prophecy thing that was cumbersome and ugly, looking back on it through hindsight. But, yeah, again, it was things that I learned through, so... so that happened, and I, you know, got kicked out. So to scratch the itch, I found some people who were playing actually in my hometown that I had no idea. They were playing Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. So I joined their group, and I played my first AD&D character. Because I had spent so much time running games outside of one-shots in the seminary, I really hadn't played a great deal at all, honestly. A few games here and there, but I didn't have any main characters that were part of an overall campaign. So I was guilty of my first GM NPCs in that game too, which again I learned a few things of what not to do. So, and yeah, my imagination back then was a little cringy when I think back on how some of the names that I came up with and other things. So, I'm not going to dwell on that too much. But then, you know, I played my first AD&D game with other people. I had to be driven out to their house because I didn't have a car and I didn't have a driver's license at the time. My dad would take me out and come back and pick me up. And we had a great time going through some of the classic adventure modules. Ravenloft, Drums on Fire Mountain, Saber River. You know, some great stories. And again, I learned a tremendous amount through that, playing with different people that weren't close friends, but still we had a common hobby. And that led to some, you know, really memorable experiences because I got to play and just delve into being a player and what that was like. So then I got out of high school, prepared to go to college. And when I went to college, started off, I kind of wanted to reinvent myself. I was tired of being an introverted kind of dork character with a crass sense of humor who thought he was smarter than he really was. I decided to go to college and try to be, you know, knuckle down and be a better student and, you know, not be so painfully shy around new people and try to open up a bit more. You know, maybe even, you know, meet girls. That was high on my list too. Which was fine. It was I shouldn't say a slow process, all things considered, because, you know, through that year, I did a fairly good job of reinventing myself. It started slow. There were some overwhelming and very stressful situations, especially with financial aid and fun stuff. But eventually, I met a guy who was in classes of mine, and it let slip that, you know, hey, I play role-playing games. Do you play role-playing games? Yeah, I play role-playing games. Got a group of friends here to play. And that's basically what it took for me to get sucked in with a group that became lifelong friends of mine to that point on. Still some of my best friends came from that original group. As a matter of fact, one of the people in that group is still in my gaming group to this day. Considering the rest of us have all splintered and gone our separate ways, that's still remarkable. And this was back in '92. So, you know, it's been a while. And I got in with the group. I got playing my second edition Bard, Sir Salen. And, you know, we had some fun times, told some fun stories. There was a dominant DM in that group, but it was a fluid situation. After we had several adventures, after that mega campaign that he had ran ended, we were ready to, you know, another DM stepped up and another DM, and we've tried different things. We'd always go back to the primary one, but we were doing a lot of shorter things. We went into Star Wars D6 West End game system, which was fun, and people enjoyed that. We did Shadowrun. This was back in first and second edition Shadowrun, and that was fun. Did a little bit of GURPS, not as much as I liked. Would have loved to have done more, but that just wasn't the thing. But mostly we played second edition Dungeons and Dragons, telling different stories, lots of different characters. I went through a stage where I went kind of chaotic suicidal, where I would get bored with a character and try to kill them off to play another character, and I was a bad player at the time for that. I understand that. I'm better now. That'll go into a Confessions of a Humbled Game Master at some point. But I really started developing my chops in terms of characterization, in terms of what makes a good cogent story, and I learned a lot. Eventually I started running games. First of all, in second edition Dungeons and Dragons, what everyone was familiar with, and I took my own whack at it. And I told some pretty good stories. They came to understand that I was a pretty good game master. We played our first Vampire the Masquerade game with that group, and that was a gripping game because the DM for that was really good at drama and really good at telling a story. And he's just kind of that... He's a guy that looks a little sinister. He's a really nice guy when you get to know him, but he kind of looked a little sinister, like, I'm not going to look out for you. Bad things are going to happen to you, and we're going to explore that together, kind. It was pretty cool. It was great situation to have that first experience in. And my first werewolf game, which also was, you know, a really dramatic situation that really gave me a love for the World of Darkness White Wolf game system. And we tried so many different games. We tried Twilight 2000 at one point. We played Champions. We played, oh my gosh, we played the Hero System. We did just a smattering of everything. Paranoia. You know, it was a brilliant time. And it was like 4 years of my college education and then a couple of other years. The group got to be big and unwieldy. Then somebody started dating somebody else's ex-girlfriend. There was some ugliness. And the group kind of broke up. It's kind of the natural evolution of things. So at one point we were up to like 12 or 13 people. We were playing in 2 separate tables in the same room at one point. And when it all kind of exploded, I took my core group and did my own thing. Moved in with a good friend of mine from work. Or no, that I met from a friend of a friend. Really good guy. One of the best players I've ever had. And we played in the same place that I lived with this guy. We played all the time. We were playing 4 or 5 nights a week sometimes. It got to be just a total creative, you know, whatever. I'd come up with a game, they'd be right in on it. Never lacked for players. Had people outside of our small group. Had several groups. It was pretty awesome. Through it all, my wife developed a love for gaming. We weren't married at the time, but as a matter of fact, I talked about coming out of my shell. I had my first girlfriend, who I'm now married to, the summer of after my freshman year. So that worked out for me. Yeah, it was nothing to complain about. And she eventually wondered what this role-playing stuff was like, and she took an honest effort at it. And during that summer, she really got into a lot of games. She was watching us for the most part through my college career. Played a little bit, but not much. Then when I was running games myself in my own small group, she, you know, got to know the guys and liked them, and we started really playing in earnest. And you know, she's had several characters, and she's turned out to be quite a good good role player. And, you know, again, just like anything, that group stuck together for quite a while. I eventually got married, moved into the castle here, and there was another unfortunate falling out, and that group broke up, with the exception of the one friend who stuck around pretty much throughout. And then I got some new players in, because I always keep a pool of extra people on the outside that I have my eye on, who I think would make good players. Good high character people who can commit and generally can play well with others. And we got another group, and we've been playing ever since. There have been a few different people here and there, but it's been an interesting ride, certainly. I've had several spin-off groups. For example, I had a group that was all of the wives and girlfriends of my friends. They asked me to run a game, it lasted a couple of years. I learned a lot from them, too. Number one, that women can be far randier and raunchier than the guys can be sometimes. Which, when they let their guard down and they're role-playing and having a fun time, all the reservation can be gone, and you can go into some directions that I never would have gone with the guys. So, yeah, there's some good times there. They had me blushing several times, I'll tell you that. But that's really my role-playing journey. I mean, I've done conventions. I've been to Gen Con when it was in Milwaukee, local conventions. I've been to Gamehole Con now several times, and each time I like to think I take away something new that I get from the experiences. Yeah, I've really, it's done me a world of good. Kept my creativity going into my adult years. I've met many people through the hobby. Learned to really love some of the things that are in the hobby, and you know, there are things that I know that I have a certain amount of tolerance for, some things that I don't have much tolerance for, but it's a huge umbrella. I can easily stay away from the things that don't really interest me, or, you know, if somebody wants to try it, I can sample things without, you know, feeling overwhelmed or committed, because I know I can go back to the things that I am comfortable with easily enough. Yeah, but it's been a good ride, and now you have heard my origin story, basically. How I got to be here. All the other stuff that I do, you know, the characters and the different channels and wanting to explore different things. My sophomore year of college, I went into theater. Before that, I had claimed that I'd had crippling stage fright, and really I never gave it a try. When I got into theater, I had to push all that away and learned that I loved being on stage. I loved being front and center, and a lot of that was helped because of my presence in role-playing games. Once I learned that I could take on the mantle and be in front of people and entertain, theater was the next step after that, and that just opened the floodgates. So now, you can throw strangers, you can throw in one case, you could throw in VIPs and stuff to come to my table that I never would have expected, and I can handle that. I can roll with that, and I can take that energy and put it out and be a hell of a DM, or game master, or whatever. And I am a different person today than I was before. A lot of it is I can lay at the feet of role-playing games. That improvements to my character and being able to do... You know, when I was in high school, I never would have thought about being a YouTube content creator. And knowing that anybody in the world can go onto my channel and see me talking and sharing personal details and things like that, that's something I could never have done before. So... anytime anybody asks me, well, why do you do this kind of thing? There's a long list of things that I can, you know, give somebody. But really, I am who I am because, in no small part, because of these role-playing games and this hobby that I love so much. So, thank you for listening, if you've stuck around this long. Exciting thing, I'm at 99 subscribers. Like I said, one more. I just saw that I picked up a new subscriber today. The name is a bunch of letters and numbers, which is fine. Anonymity is a special privilege thing. But whoever you are welcome here. And we're glad to have you. tell your friends, one more subscriber, and like I said, I got something special cooked up. So that'll be a celebration for reaching 100 subscribers. So thank you very much, and if you get a chance, check out Ron's video. It was a nice story of a person who comes from a very different background from my own, but we both ended up in the same hobby, so that's cool. And I will see you guys the next time I decide to crawl in front of the internet. And I haven't drank a lot of coffee in this, but it was really hot before. But thanks for joining me, and I will enjoy the rest of this, and I'm going to go shoot another video, so now that the cat seems to have left me alone. Farewell, and thank you again.